Welcome to another segment, episode, edition of Women Veteran Entrepreneurs. My name is Omar Muhammad, helping you improve and progress in business and in life. So the WAVE podcast is a network for building capacity. It's powered by Truist Bank, and you know who I am. And over there is retired Major General Linda Singh. Hey, welcome back.
Hello, hello. Thank you.
Good deal. And as always, we have a special guest. But before we get to our special guest, I want to just let people know that you can listen to past episodes of the WAVE podcast. It can be heard at www.edacmorgan.com. And we're also on Instagram, Facebook, and on Twitter at WAVE, that's WVE, Women Veteran Entrepreneurs Podcast. So you can tune there. And we just started our first boot camp. So if you're interested in learning more about that, all information is on the website, as well as we now have access to capital for those individuals who are finishing the boot camp. And we have some specialized webinars. So we're really excited about this initiative as we continue to move forward. And the podcast is one of the tools that we have for women veteran entrepreneurs. And with that said, I'm going to shoot over to our special guest over here. We have Ivonne Escobar. Ivonne, welcome to the WAVE podcast.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
How you doing?
Hey, I'm improving and progressing. Yeah. So before we started, you indicated that you have several businesses. So let's go through those businesses. Oh, before we do that, we should always do something that we do special for our veterans. So what branch of the service did you serve in?
The Army.
All right, Army.
Yes.
And how many years?
I did 4 because I had to ended up having to make a choice between staying as a soldier or being a mama. Because I was military intelligence. So I spent 70% of my time in the field and 30% at home. So it was a hard decision, but an easy one after that, right?
All right. Well, good deal. Well, thank you for your service as always.
It was my pleasure.
Good deal. And I always want to know, so what transferable skills did you bring with you from the Army to your entrepreneurial venture?
I think that the discipline aspect of it is something that really has helped me greatly in business. The fact that I did intelligence analysis actually helped me with strategizing. So when I look at my professional career, they gave me the nickname, the fixer-upper. Pretty much anything that was broken for some reason, it didn't matter what company I worked for, they would hand it to me and they say, go ahead, Yvonne, fix it. And I was able to turn things from not making profit to turning them to be profitable options and venues for those businesses. So I think those are the 2 biggest things that I was able to carry from the military to help me succeed.
All right, good deal. So let's talk about now your entrepreneurial journey. You mentioned you had a number of businesses. So let's go through the name of the businesses first, and then how did you get to those businesses?
Sure. The first one that we opened, I actually opened it jointly with my husband. The name of it is Kairos Home Improvement. Kairos means perfect timing, God's timing. We opened that back up in 2014. Started out as something that we did on the side, part-time, let's see how it goes. Had the opportunity to start working with investors to do flipping of properties and maintenance of rental properties. Okay. We did that for a couple of years. And back in 2018, we actually took that full time. So we went from a home-based business to where now we have a 1,500 square foot office space to be able to accommodate our growth. So it's been a very interesting journey. Then we opened our second business. The second business that I opened back up during the COVID season, July of 2020. I actually left my full-time job. I was a brand president for a staffing company based out of Baltimore. Okay. And what we did was we actually created a franchise for that business. So I actually helped them build it. Within 11 months, we had already sold 11 territories, which was considered a very successful run for a staffing company in such a short period of time.
Mm.
And at that point, I realized, I said, wait a minute, I'm making these guys all this money. I'm like, what am I doing? I wanted at that moment, there was an urge inside of me that says, you can do this for other people as well. So that's where Refra Consulting actually started. Refra actually stands for the name of my two daughters, Rebecca and Raquel. So
Okay.
the first three letters and the first two letters, that's where Refra came about. For Refra Consulting, I actually specialize in leadership training and startup businesses. So what is that process to be able to establish your business? What will it take to turn it into a profitable business? So that's the sole core of what I do, is just leadership. Again, that comes from my military background. I think that was the best school I could have ever gone to learn about leadership. And then I also got certified by John Maxwell. So I am also a certified professional speaker, coach, and trainer through the Maxwell system as well. So that takes us up to 2021. So 2021, I don't know why we said, okay, we don't have enough work, I guess, right? And that's when we started We Distribute. We Distribute is actually a distribution company that takes care of home improvement materials. Our slogan is anything from the door in. So whether it's the floor, whether it is faucets, cabinets, vanities, whatever a homeowner would need in order to improve their home, we actually provide it to them. We specialize in working with investors, contractors. However, we also do service the public in general as well.
All right. You want to keep going?
No, go ahead. I'll let you ask the next question.
Well, those are all good. So it's interesting. I'm a John Maxwell consultant as well. And I found out, when I got my training.
Same here.
You are too? Oh, wow. So we all three, we have something in common. I tell you.
Yes.
So when I took my training, there were a lot of veterans there. So did you just decide to jump into this, or did you talk to some other veterans? How did you get into the John Maxwell family, if you will?
Well, I've been a follower of John Maxwell for years. One of the first books of leadership that I read after I left the military was the 21 Laws, Irrefutable Laws of Leadership.
Yes.
I actually had a former boss of mine. I was 22 years old, I think, when she made me read the book, and then we did a whole training class on it.
Wow.
So that got me interested in his background, the fact that he is Christian based, actually helped me decide to follow his programs. And then when one of my coworkers, where I was working at the staffing company, he's a pastor, and he actually told me about the Maxwell program. He's like, hey, did you know that now he has a program where you can get certified? I said, no way. He's like, yeah. Yes. And I kid you not, I went through it. I looked at all the information. And as soon as I saw what it had to offer, I kid you not, that's what made me say, look, y'all, I got 30 days and I'm out. I got to go. I'm going to start my own business. Bye. This is it. And that's how I ended up doing Maxwell.
Okay. All right. From leaving, let's start with this, creating a franchise. You were able to, was this your system that you put together where you created this franchise for the staffing company?
Yeah, I actually worked in conjunction with a franchise group. They have 30 years of experience in franchising. It's called the United Franchise Group, based out of West Palm Beach, Florida. So I had the opportunity to work with their CEO and his whole staff. Wow. So they were great mentors to be able to guide me through what I needed to do. The beautiful part was to be able to put that whole process together. So it started out as 2 sheets, and the booklet ended up being over 300 pages long. Wow. Right? So because when you're developing a franchise, it's almost like handing a recipe to somebody, yes, who's never owned that type of business, to know exactly what they need to do, what type of insurances they need, what type of coverage do they need, how to establish their office, how to hire personnel. And then once you do all that, how do you actually run the business so you can make it profitable, right? So how do you establish your margins, et cetera? So it was a great, interesting journey to be able to look at a business and really pick it apart to be able to teach somebody how to do it. So, and I think that that's what allowed me to gain that confidence level to say, if I can help these guys create a multi-million-dollar business in a year time frame, right? What's stopping me from creating my own businesses, right? And make myself that multi-millionaire, right? Because honestly, you know how you have those aha moments in life? I kid you not, I was literally taking a shower, and I tell everybody this, I was taking a shower after the 10th office was sold, right? And I started calculating how much money they were gonna bring in if the offices did bare bone minimum, right? I was like, of course I can't expect them to blow out, like that. And I was like, all right, so they were in a position to make over $5 million a year if those offices did the bare bone minimum. Yeah. And I said, okay, let's be real. I'm an employee. I got to get paid for this, right? So I'm trying to figure out how much of a raise I should ask for. Right. And then I realized at that moment that what I was worth, I already knew they were not willing to pay me that. So again, those are the moments that kind of put you in a position to say, I got to change my path. So it's almost like God speaking to you and telling you about time you saw what your actual worth is. So, and for my husband, it was a great feeling of knowing that now I'm focusing on working with him and making our business successful versus making somebody else's business successful. And I'm very proud to be able to say that this year, just by joining him and being able to focus on our businesses, we were able to take the business into the million dollar level, right? So something that were not able to do before. I mean, if I were to tell you, I think our highest year was 400,000. So to be able to already be at the $1 million point, and we are still in September. So it's not over yet, so that it just validates the fact that it's like, let's just push forward. So, and I got 2 more businesses that I'm going to start, but I'm not there yet.
So now, Ivonne, so that kind of speaks to the dedication and commitment, but how much time would you say that you've spent working on your business versus working in your business?
Let me see. Right now in the business, I will tell you, I spend about 30 to 40 hours a week in the business, right? So the day-to-day operations, making sure everything works in order. And then I have this thing that I always tell my staff, I think I get more done once you guys leave than while you're here, right? Because again, it's to your point, Linda, is I'm no longer working in the business, now I'm working on it. So typically 4:30, 6:30, sometimes 7 o'clock afterwards. So you're looking at what, a 12-hour day typically total. So because one of the things that I really like to work on is that thought process, right? I think that sometimes we get so caught up in that day-to-day operations of the business that we forget to think. Right. And because everything is moving so fast around you, you're like, I'll do that later. I'll do that later. So I do a lot of strategizing where typically during that 4:30 to 7 o'clock, 7:30 point, that is all I focus on. How can I grow the business? What can I do differently? As I look at my processes, what's really not working right now, right? What are areas of opportunity? What are we doing well, right? Because I don't like to just focus on the negative, because sometimes that can also be destructive if all you worry about is what's wrong, right? So I try to kind of emphasize on what is it that we're doing right so we can continue to push that, and if we can make it better, let's make it better. And then identifying areas where we can grow. And that's where we've been able to come up with concepts to where our company, we have a residential aspect. We are creating a division that's going to solely focus on investors. So to be able to provide them a one-stop service, they'll be able to get pretty much their materials, everything from us. We help them with the designing, like from beginning to end, right? So that brings a lot of value to investors because they're also people who are always running. So what we're trying to do is meet that need. How do we close that gap for them? So we want to be able to utilize our experience. So it's just little things that we're putting together that come when we're working on the business instead of in it.
Absolutely. So let me jump in on that as well. So when you say we, I'm assuming it's you and your husband, and you have a team of individuals. How do you get to, or how did you get to that team where it went from you and your husband to now that is working in the business and you and your husband are working on the business?
Believe it or not, my team is made up of my family. We are literally family owned and operated. So my biggest cheerleaders are my two daughters. I have my oldest one that works in the home improvement company. She is my client relations manager. She pretty much takes the project once it gets, once we put the pricing together, the estimating is completed. She pretty much grabs the ball at that point and she moves forward. She's definitely her mother's child because she likes to strategize. So she's always looking for ways of making things better. Then on the other side, I have my youngest daughter who is working on the distribution company. Because she is so detailed oriented. She is that one that will sit there and say, nope, that's not acceptable. This is how it has to go. And the process has to be followed, which is extremely important when you're talking about distribution. If you think about it, somebody's ordering cabinets for their kitchen, the measurements have to be perfect. We don't have room for error. So she just fit right in just because of her personality. So I think that value of knowing that I have, obviously, because they're my kids, they have an invested interest. I'm fully aware of it, but I'm blessed to be able to say that my kids have an interest in being able to be involved in the business, right? And then the team that I have around me, I do have some key players that worry about how do we improve? How do we get better? So what we try to do is we always try to take care of our employees, right? We still consider a very small business. I only have 14 employees total. But we want to make sure that they are happy being at work. I don't want them to just come in, do 8 hours a day and go home. I want to create an environment and a culture where my staff feels like they love coming to work. They love being of service to people, and just maintaining that service mentality and mindset for our clients.
So I know people are going to hear that and say, wow, she only has 14. 14 is a lot. 14 is a lot. That's a lot of people that you have to be responsible for. So let me just ask that question somewhat more. And how did you get to that point? I understand your husband and your daughters, but now you have some other individuals. How did you determine those were the right people to interview? To interview and
hire. Yeah, it all boils down to character. Believe it or not, this is an industry where there's a lot of attrition in home improvement. Because people chase money often, right? It's if somebody gives me $1 more, I'm out the door. So for us, it all boiled down to character. We stop worrying about what is it that they know how to do. We can teach them how to hang drywall, right? We cannot teach them to be committed. We cannot teach them to be dedicated. So our interview process is more indicative of character than skill set. Now, don't get me wrong. We do ask questions about, do you know how to hang drywall, right? Do you know how to cut wood? We do ask those questions. We want to find out what their specialties are. However, we're more concerned on that mindset. Again, because that's something that I cannot teach. And, it's something that I instill in my husband's mind from the beginning. Let's not worry about the guy who wants to make the least amount of money to save money as a business, right? Let's pay a fair wage. I don't want to pay industry minimums. I want to pay a fair wage, because if they have the character that we need, right, to where they're going to care about my client, where they're committed and dedicated to it, where they want to take pride in the final result, the final product, that's who I want on my team. Because we can teach them the rest, so, and those have been the factors that we've utilized to build that team. you know, and it's been a lot of trial and error. Don't get me wrong. We've gone through a fair number of people, you know, to be fair, but it's because that's what we're looking for. I mean, because coming from a staffing background, right? So I did staffing for so long, I understood the process, the interview process, how to do all that. So I was able to learn what to ask, but I also learned that there's people out there who know how to interview and don't know how to execute, right? So sometimes we have to be careful with that, because what I learned in my staffing days was, if it sounds too good to be true, it is. So walk with caution, right? Because I'm telling you, it's like sometimes we want to believe, oh my God, we found that diamond in the rough. Believe it or not, I think that some of the people that have been the best performers for me, some of them didn't have a background in home improvement. So it allowed us to teach them how to do things, right? And they actually were very humble people, where they pretty much says, I know nothing, I'm willing to learn everything, what do I need to do? So typically when people can ask those type of questions to you, then that's an indicative of, okay, this person is really trying to grow. And then obviously for me, I test that, right? Because anybody can say anything. So what we do is we have, like, for example, we have a set of tools that they're required to buy within a specific time frame, right? So what we do is we start measuring how they start doing that, right? Again, with us paying fair wages, right? I know that they can do it. We also have programs within the company that we provide them with the tools. And then what we do is we deduct it from their paycheck as they go about. So that way they have what they need. You know, so again, once I have an employee that says, look, I want you to buy me this, and that, because I want to have it all, let's do it. You are talking about commitment. You are talking about dedication. And it's being done with action, not just simply words.
I love that. I love that. You know, I like what you said. You said people can interview very well, but the execution is truly important. Yep, appreciate that. And I'm sorry, Lydia, were you going to jump in?
No, I was just shaking my head because I love what she's saying, and it's very, very true. So it does bring in, so it brings in a little bit more of her skill set from the military as well, because, you know, they teach us to trust but verify, right? And that is a huge, huge piece.
Trust but verify.
Yes, ma'am. Because it looks like it don't mean it is. Yes, ma'am.
Put that up on my screen. Trust but verify.
Yes, I haven't heard that in a long time.
All right, I like
and
that.
Omar, that's relevant for boards as well, right?
Oh, that's why I wrote it down. That's why I wrote it down. Yes. All right. So let's move forward. We got about 6 minutes left. Talk about, you know, what advice would you give to other veterans that are coming out, and other, you know, women who are going into business or looking to move from, let's say, one business to, let's say, two businesses, you know, because that could be a lot when it comes down to your time and management, and in some cases the financial piece. So what type of advice would you give to individuals?
I think that what allowed us to be successful, has allowed me to be successful, it's a lot of planning. I think that instead of making hash decisions, think it through. I have this thing where I always say that fear and faith cannot sit in the same room, right? So when I put strategies together, I do have to think best case scenario and think worst case scenario. Prepare for somewhere in between, right? So what I did with every business that I started was I had a plan going in before I made it formal, right? Because sometimes what I have seen from people that I know when they've tried to do it is they have this great idea and they just jump right in without having an idea as to what they're jumping into, right? So do your homework to know what the market is. Understand what is it that you're trying to do, right? Because I'll use this example. If you have a barber who's been a barber for 10 years, and he's worked at somebody else's business for 10 years. He can be a great barber. However, that does not mean that he knows how to run the business, right? So that barber needs to do his homework on what does it take to operate the business. Find out what the cost is. Find out where it would be a good place to have it at. What will it take? Because you already know how to be a barber. So you don't need to enhance that. What you need to understand is the operational side of the business, right? Everybody is very quick to show you a shortcut and say, look, don't do this. You can do that later, right? At what expense, at what cost, right? So I have seen it happen where I've had friends that unfortunately started their business. They figured, let me just do it under the table. I'll be fine. And then they got caught up and it ended up costing more in the long run, right? So, or being able to jump into something because they never had a true understanding of the actual business, then it actually set them up for failure because they figured out they couldn't afford to maintain the business.
I like that. So that's why I had to fire my barber. My hair was long like yours, but they didn't know how to cut hair.
Oh, Lord.
All right. So with that said, so Ivonne, how can people reach out to you? Is there a contact information website that you may have?
Yeah, so I've got 3 websites. I've got www.wedistributesupplies.com. That's for our distribution company. We have www.Kairos Home Improvement Inc. That's Kairos.
One more time.
Kairos, like Sam, homeimprovementinc.com. Or they can reach me at www.rivraconsulting.com. That's RIV, like in victory, RA, the word consulting.com. Or I can be reached via phone, 443-306-1848. That's a direct line to me.
All right, good deal. Well, Ivonne, we really appreciate you coming on to the Wave podcast and sharing your story and those tips, which were really helpful for us and for those who are going to be tuned in as well. So we'll stay tuned to hear about the 3 other businesses that you're going to create. We'll bring you back.
Yes. Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
All right, good deal. So stay put, everybody. We got our resource segment coming up in a few minutes.
Thanks.
All right, welcome back. Thank you for tuning in to the Women Veteran Entrepreneurs podcast. Again, Omar Muhammad right here. And we have retired Major General Linda Singh. And we just had a nice guest who shares some great information, multiple businesses. And now we go to our resource segment. So each podcast, we have a resource that's available for those individuals who are women veterans and entrepreneurs. And with that said, I'm gonna introduce our next guests. We have Rosalind Jones and Dana Barrow. Did I say Barrow? Barrow. All right, Barrow. And they're with, all right, so Rosalind has a long name. So let me just, title, I should say. Women Veterans Inclusion Program Manager, Outreach and Advocacy Program for the Department of Veterans Affairs.
Yes.
Is that right?
Veterans. Women Veterans Program. Right. Women Veterans Program for sure.
All right, good deal. So tell us about the resources that are available at the Maryland Department of Veteran Affairs.
Okay, thank you so much, Omar, for inviting us to this awesome platform. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Major General Singh, as well. I've known you for a couple of years and I've been a fan. I think the first time that I met you was when we had we were preparing for the Elijah Cummings Career Fair when I was with Labor.
Yes.
Yes, so thank you so much. With the Maryland Department of Veterans Affairs, I'm gonna let Dana give you some information about our the benefits, and then I will follow up with our new Women Veterans Program.
All right, good deal.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to be here with you this afternoon. I am going to provide a very, very high level overview of our department. And if anyone who's listening has any questions, wants to learn more about programs that our department provides, or wants to learn more about programs provided by other state agencies, they can follow up with us either by phone at 410-260-3838 or by visiting our website, which is veterans.maryland, all spelled out, .gov, G-O-V, as in Victor. So the Maryland Department of Veterans Affairs just celebrated its 20th anniversary 2 years ago in 2019. It was a very exciting year for us. Governor Hogan declared 2019 as the year of the veteran, and we had some really great opportunities to provide some specialized outreach over the course of that year. We are a relatively small state agency, comparatively speaking. We have about 105 employees, and we oversee 5 core programs. The first program that the department manages is the statewide Veterans Benefits and Services Program. We have accredited service officers located from one side of the state to the other, from north to south, who are accredited by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs to represent veterans, dependents, and survivors to the VA as they're applying for VA benefits, whether it's for compensation for disability, survivor's pension, etc. They are available to assist. We also manage Charlotte Hall Veterans Home. It is a 454 assisted living and skilled nursing home for veterans and their eligible spouses. It is located in St. Mary's County, and we are very hopeful in the coming years, a little teaser for you, to see a second veterans home coming to Maryland, likely out in Western Maryland, so be on the lookout for that. We oversee the 5 state veteran cemeteries. We do manage the busiest state veteran cemetery program in the country. We have a cemetery in Western Maryland, in Flintstone, in Baltimore County, in Owings Mills, Garrison Forest, Anne Arundel County, Crownsville, Prince George's County, Cheltenham, and the Eastern Shore Veteran Cemetery is located in Hurlock. We also have primary responsibility for the maintenance of 4 veteran memorials: World War II, Vietnam, Korea, and the Gold Star Families Memorial Monument. And we share responsibility for the War Memorial Building with Baltimore City. We also have the Veterans Trust Fund. It is a trust that's been established to assist veterans who are experiencing temporary financial difficulties. And I oversee outreach and advocacy. I've been with the department just shy of 8 years now, between myself and my deputy Denise Noe, and now Rosalind. It is our responsibility to make sure that we are educating and providing information to veterans and their family members as it relates to what MDVA has to offer, as well as what other state agencies have to offer as well. And I know that I've covered a lot of things in a really short period of time. So again, I just encourage anyone who might be listening to visit our website, veterans.maryland.gov. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Rosalind, who is going to be able to share some information about the exciting and newly established Women Veterans Inclusion Program in the department. So Rosalind, it's all yours.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So as Dana mentioned, our program, the Women Veterans Inclusion Program, is very new to MDVA. As you may or may not know, Governor Hogan announced earlier this year the inception of this program. And with that, what I will be doing is providing advocacy and assistance to women veterans, as well as minority and other traditionally underserved veterans. I'm a veteran myself. I served 29 years in the Army, and serving in 3 different components. I started out in the active Army, then I went to the reserve, and then with the AGR program, where I supported the reserve forces. And I was just 2 months out of the military before I was accepted with the Department of Labor. And that's actually where I really realized the disparity with our women veterans and other minorities. I don't recall experiencing any of those needs when I was when I was on active duty or in any of those components. So, I mean, if I did, I didn't realize it. So, but like I said, it wasn't until I went to labor that I really saw some of the needs of women veterans in particularly. And with the inception of this program, I'm excited that our MDVA Secretary Owings, as well as Dana, they, you know, and of course the governor, they saw the need and, you know, added this program to MDVA. As you may know, women veterans are one of the highest growing populations in the military. And with that, we definitely have to make sure that we are available and providing those services. The VA is doing a real good job of trying to address a lot of those issues. But of course, with our population increasing, of course, we need those services. And the state of Maryland is trying to rise to the challenge of making sure that we address those issues. And there are quite a few. So.
Well, as always, you know, Rosalind, thank you for your service. Really appreciate that. And, you know, this is for both you and Dana. You know, I know this show is all about entrepreneurship. And, you know, sometimes entrepreneurs tend to think that, you know, we can go 24/7 without really taking mental breaks and having this particular department around to ensure that individuals can really have a balance in their business and in their lives. And so I salute you all for this particular department, especially for this newly department or division that you have there. And, you know, let's flood that office with, you know, entrepreneurs who need a balance. And, you know, so I'll stop there, see if Linda has anything to add to that.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the piece that we didn't hit on as much is that as a veteran, there are services that are available to us. Make sure you get your certification for your veteran-owned status, right? I mean, that is first and foremost. I mean, if you take advantage, you know, or if you've taken advantage of the education benefits, and if you haven't taken advantage of your education benefits, you should be doing that. Your housing benefits, right? So those are all key things for an entrepreneur's perspective that you should be thinking about. And that all goes to your financial, you know, looking at your financial worth and how do you establish yourself. But more importantly, if you're not understanding the process of filing for your veteran small business certification, you need to do that really at two levels. You have to do it at the federal level, which the process has just changed and is rolling up under SBA. So you want to go ahead and get it done now before it rolls up under SBA if you can. And then you also have to make sure that you're filing for that status. If you're a Maryland business, go out to the Maryland Business Express and file for all of your statuses, and they'll point you to, there's some great things on the site, but go out to the veteran site and look at what you're eligible for there. So I would just kind of add on to that, because I don't think that we always take advantage of what's there for us.
Yeah, and if I can add, the good thing about the different businesses and government organizations and everyone that's involved is that there's a great partnership between government agencies, private agencies, nonprofits, that, you know, if you're not sure of where to go, there's a very good chance that if you just mention what your need is, that there's a partnership that someone can direct you to where to go. And that's another thing about our program, is that it's not necessarily that the program or the service is not there. It could be just that, you know, there's a difficulty in navigating the system or the program, or not having access, especially if veterans are in rural areas. So just being connected to anyone pretty much these days, because there's a great connection and partnership. We just need to make sure that veterans, if they're in need, ask the question.
Yeah.
Just ask the question. And I'm very sure that someone can point them in the right direction because of those partnerships.
All right, well, good deal. So Dana, if you can give that contact information out again so that people can find you all.
Absolutely. They can call us direct at 410-260-3838, or they can visit our website, which is veterans.maryland.gov. And within our website, they will find all of our programs' contact information, as well as additional information on other programs provided by other state agencies.
Right, good deal, good deal. Well, I want to thank you, Dana Barrow and Rosalind Jones for coming on board. Really appreciate the information that you shared with us and those individuals who are tuned in to the Wave podcast.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here with you today.
All right, good deal. Any final comments, Linda?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you, ladies.
Yep. All right. Well, good deal. Well, this concludes our podcast for today. Again, you can find past episodes at edacmorgan.com. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter at Wave. That's WVE podcast, Women Veteran Entrepreneurial Podcast. And don't forget, if you have any questions, you can always email me at omar@edacmorgan.com. We have a boot camp coming, entrepreneurship boot camp. We have access to capital, specialized webinars, and of course, this particular resource here. So until next time, continue to improve and progress. We'll see you at the next one. Take care.